rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. First, I want to thank Buddy for this background. Buddy Weiser sent it to me along with a bunch of others, so you'll probably start seeing some other U.S.-themed things running around in the background because, you know, that's just the way I roll. So anyway, oh, well, that's interesting. My Facebook froze up. Oh, well. All right. So tonight I've got a couple things. Obviously the biggest thing of the day, as far as that goes, is Biden did a couple of things, like he announced, ironically, in a op-ed letter. He announced in an op-ed letter what he wants to do with SCOTUS. Now, I'll have a few things on that here in a little bit. Also, too, he went to the civil rights, location, and celebrated the 60th anniversary of the signing of the Civil Rights Act. And honestly, I think they tend to forget that the Civil Rights Act was filibustered by the Democrats, but whatever. And I mistakenly put that Biden was one of the ones who filibustered it. That was wrong. Biden didn't actually make Congress until 1973. But still, the point being is, I mean, it was, I guess you could kind of say it was a joke. But anyway, although I didn't label it as such, so whatever. So that happened. And then, of course, we have this hubbub here in the Olympics, which I'll get to in just a minute. All right. So tonight I have Definitely Not Karen from Rumble on tap for our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hats, put your hand over your heart, and let's join in with Definitely Not Karen on the Pledge of Allegiance. And I need to get to the pledge. There it is.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Definitely Not Karen, for that rousing rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. I do appreciate that. What the heck? There we go. Yeah. Just having some serious problems. You know, I woke up this morning and I have one of those, this is totally off topic. So here we're going to jump off the rails here for just a second, but totally off topic. I woke up this morning and interesting. I woke up this morning and I went to go fix a cup of coffee, and I have a Keurig. Okay, it was a gift, you know. So anyway, so we have a Keurig. I put the coffee in. I started it. I went over, you know, gave some treats to Cleo, our little kitty. Wasn't paying attention, and I forgot to put the coffee cup underneath to have the coffee pour in. So that was item number one. And then the second thing that I did was I was doing something. I can't remember what it was now, but I was doing something else. And I remember. So I was standing here and I looked up at the clock and I went, oh my gosh, I forgot to go feed my horses. And it turns out that no, I didn't forget to feed them because I actually got scratched in the knee because of it. So anyway, so there you go. That was my wonderful morning my wonderful morning routine that got all discombobulated. So I'm not surprised that I'm still kind of messing around. But anyway, all right. So tonight, let me tell you about this wonderful shirt that I have on. I get it from theflagshirt.com. That's right. Most of the shirts that I wear, not all of them, but most of the shirts that I wear come from theflagshirt.com. And I got to tell you, they have some really cool styles I personally like and wear. The majority of what I wear is the cotton polos from theflagshirt.com. You can check them out. But I am going to throw in an additional incentive. If you go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, you can get a $5 off coupon that you can put in the promo code box on your order. That'll take $5 or at checkout, sorry, and you will take $5 off your order. Go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online, and you will be able to get a promo code to put in at checkout for $5 off your order at theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt.com, and you can get yourself patriotized just like me. All right. Yeah. I ended up getting that too, Mark. Looks like Mark over on Facebook showed up and he's got buffering going on as well, which I see that is happening over there. I don't know what the heck was going on. I don't know if they buffered it just for fun or whatever. But anyway, all right. So I don't know about any of you guys, but I haven't really watched the Olympics. I haven't bothered to, mainly just because of the fact that, Summer Olympics, I'm not outside of, soccer, which that's my chosen sport. But outside of soccer, I really wasn't interested in much of anything else in the Olympics, in the Summer Olympics. The thing about the summer, or even just the Olympics themselves, is that it used to be that it would be amateur, non-professional athletes that would be competing. And that was the whole purpose. Well, then, the America started taking their teams, like in basketball, for an example, they took NBA teams over there and submitted them as our USA teams. Same thing with hockey. In the winter sports, we would send over the NHL stars and things like that to go play, the ones that came from America. And to me, that just seems, that's almost like taking a professional NFL team and putting it into the college, football and expecting, not anything but golds and that kind of stuff. So realistically, I kind of stopped watching the Olympics, but apparently there was an opening at the Olympics that was representative, I guess, of a blasphemous act toward Christians, which really doesn't surprise me any, to be honest with you. But yeah. It's just one of those things where, I don't know. I mean, as a Christian, okay, fine. But, Christians have been persecuted and made fun of and everything else for years. So, for generations, for decades, for millennia or whatever it is. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of like, well, you guys, evil's going to do what evil's going to do. And, okay, whatever. Well, the thing about it is that I found fascinating is, first of all, it was the Last Supper parody, by the way. And the reason why I say it was the Last Supper parody is because that's pretty much exactly what it was. Now, the left has come out and been like, hey, MAGA morons, this is their words, MAGA morons, it was actually the feast of Dionysus, who's a Greek god, and, the Olympics are Greek, and so on and so forth. Well, okay. if that were the case, if that truly were the case, all right, then I could imagine that the answer to all of the uproar from, you know, rightfully so, if you feel that way, go ahead, but rightfully so, you know, they're being a little offended by this and taking offense to this. They essentially would have just said, hey, look, that was just the Feast of Dionysus, and that would have been it. That would have been the end of the story, honestly. But the reality of it is essentially that it obviously wasn't. It obviously wasn't. And the reason being is because the Paris Olympic spokesperson, they went ahead and said, if people have taken any offense, we are really sorry. They issued an apology to Christians over what they tried to say was not the Last Supper parody. Now, I didn't watch the thing. I saw a small clip of it. You know, again, it was a woke bullcrap thing. I mean, honestly, the apology was saying that they are clearly, there was never an intention to show disrespect to any religious group. The opening ceremony tried to celebrate community tolerance. Yeah, community tolerance by making a mockery of what was essentially the Last Supper. And again, even the creator of the act, the one that dreamt up this monstrosity, they even said, oh yeah, it's the Last Supper. It's not the thing of Dionysus or whatever it was. It wasn't the attachment to the Greek thing. Folks, evil in this world is happening. It is here. It is, and it's been happening for quite some time. And, you know, I would love to have seen, if they really and truly are like, hey, we don't want to, you know, we're not worried about Christians or whatever. It would have been fantastic to have seen as a part of it if they were going to make a mockery of the Christian religion. Why wouldn't they make a mockery of, say, oh, I don't know, Muhammad? They could have made a mockery of Muslims. They could have made a mockery of any other Buddha. They could have done a mockery of anything, but they won't. And the reason being is because they won't do it especially against Muhammad, because of the fact they know that they're going to piss off all of the Muslims that are out there. See, that's part of the reason why the idea of having a mockery of the Christian religion, because the Christians, we generally don't go totally ballistic when, you know, Jesus is mocked, because he even said in the Bible, he said, they hated me long before they hated you. And the plan is eventually that it's going to get mocked. Jesus is going to be mocked quite a bit before the end of times. So, yeah. They ended the spokesperson's statement, by the way. She ended her spokesperson's statement was, we believe this ambition was achieved. Again, pointing to the ambition of the celebrating community tolerance, which is a bunch of crap. But then she goes, if people have taken any offense, we are really sorry. Well, supposedly, shortly thereafter, there was a major sponsor who backed out because of that opening ceremony. And, yeah, so again, like I said, I mean, if they did, they did. It's evil. Okay. It's evil at work. We know it's evil at work. The people apparently that they had was all made up of LGBTQIA plus minus divided by sign, percentage, sign, tilde, whatever kind of additional things they want to add to that. And they made it all up, just like the, what is it? That group that's like the anti-sisters for whatever, I don't know, that did some show at some baseball game not too long ago. Yeah. Anyway, so Thomas Jolly, who was the artistic director, has attempted to distance his scene from any Last Supper parallels, saying that during a news conference it was meant to celebrate diversity and to include everyone. Really? Really? It did. Yeah. Nope. Sorry. Anyway, a lot of people apparently got offended enough that they were going to boycott the Olympic Games. So, and many of course, were using their boycott-related hashtag to express their displeasure, which is completely up to them. Yeah. But again, keep in mind, folks, that this is going to happen. It's going to happen even worse. It's going to happen more often, and I'm not condoning it in any way, shape, or form. But I am definitely saying that we've got to expect this. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to be presenting itself more and more and more, especially if the left goes into a death spiral after Donald Trump gets elected in November. So anyway. Which, speaking about them getting elected in November, Trump getting elected in November, apparently there's some people, some Democrats in particular, who are privately anxious about Kamala Harris's ability to actually defeat Trump. This in Breitbart today, Democrat lawmakers are anxious about Vice President Kamala Harris's ability to defeat Donald Trump on Election Day, just 99 days away. 99 days, folks. We have 99 days left. Oh, and yes, actually, 3 Chevy brings up, just hopping back to that last article, 3 Chevy points out, did you see the lights went out in Paris afterwards? And yes, actually, I did see that. I didn't see what the cause was or anything else, but I did see that the lights went out in Paris and there was only like one facility or one, like, I think it was actually a church that was still lit up in the background, or at least that's what the picture was that I saw was depicting. But anyway, so back to the article here. As the honeymoon phase of the Harris campaign appears to be wearing off, unease is penetrating the Democrat Party over Harris's radical left record. Her lack of political capital in blue wall states and the challenge she faces of campaigning on the Biden-Harris administration's economy. It's not just the economy, though, folks, because she also has her campaign spokesperson has also come out and said, oh, yeah, no, we're going to keep the Biden border policies in place. Yeah, that's a winning strategy. When the economy and the immigration are like the two top issues, kitchen table issues, as they call them, for people in America. Yeah, that's really gonna go well. But hey, go ahead. I'm all happy for it. One source familiar with the internal discussions told The Hill that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was lukewarm about Harris becoming the nominee, a view that appears to be widespread among party elites. Now, there's some new information that has come out with regards to who actually pushed Joe out. And reportedly, at least if you believe this individual who was quote unquote leaking this information, reportedly, Obama did call Joe up and say, look, we've got Kamala Harris online. She will 25th you if you don't step out. We'll let you finish your presidential term, but she's all set and ready to like cut you out. Well, you know, I'm sorry, people, but that's exactly what happens when you freaking fill your cabinet with with sycophantic followers of your old boss. Yeah, I mean, I've reported on this show before where almost all of the Biden cabinet and members inside are essentially, they are all Obama sycophants and followers. Why do you think that Obama is it's not Biden running this administration. This is Obama. Obama's pulling the strings. He's got all the people in the right places. He's got everybody in there doing his bidding. That's exactly what's happening. And we know this. And it would be even worse with Kamala in place. So, anyway. Another Democrat senator told The Hill that she wasn't a great candidate. And that was talking about Harris's 2020 presidential campaign. Harris ended her campaign before the Iowa caucuses. Again, she has not gained a single vote in a single primary for president at all. Not even now. Because right now it is the cabal of Democrat elites that are installing her in place. We know this. This is what it's going to be. The lawmaker who said that also added, we need to be very clear-eyed, and it's going to be brutally tough. A second Democrat senator argued that Harris is a lot better choice than President Joe Biden, but admitted her shortcomings in the Midwest. One of the greatest challenges the radical California Democrat will face is winning support in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, which are considered the blue wall states that Trump currently has a strong chance in winning. Yeah. So they're not, internally, they may be closing ranks right now to everyone on the outside, but they are definitely internally, they are not happy about this situation, which, I discussed this before. I talked about it quite some time before, with the idea of who they could get to replace Joe if they wanted to. And again, she's probably about as bad as Hillary Clinton in terms of being a garbage candidate. And the only thing that they have to run on right now is the fact that she is a woman and what is being touted as a person of color. In fact, I've noticed that their language has sort of changed, where she's no longer being called a black woman. She's now being referred to by, I'm going to say a majority of the sycophantic social media outlets and accounts, that she is a person of color. That's like, they're not necessarily no longer jumping on the whole she's black scenarios anymore. Well, speaking of that, apparently the black vote and other focus groups are starting to wane from the sugar high that they were getting off of the fact that Joe was no longer in the race. And the reason why is because there have been a couple of focus groups. Now, I played a video not too long ago. I could think a couple of episodes ago that showed you that one young black man who ripped on another of the focus group people, who basically said, no, the only reason why I'm voting for her is because she's a woman and she's a person of color. Well, this came out in town hall, and this might be an indication that the honeymoon phase, the sugar rush, is no longer in the group anymore. There was a focus group that was asked about Kamala Harris's accomplishments as vice president, because again, keep in mind, the only thing she really has to run on is the fact that she was a prosecutor with a reputation for putting black people in jail and keeping them there. She has a far left view of things like the border and of crime and of all these other things. Okay. But outside of that, her biggest accomplishment as VP is being that border czar and helping. Let's be honest, even if it is her full intent of what she did, or what was done at the border, I should say, was completely under her control. even let's just say it wasn't. Let's just give her the benefit of the doubt and basically say that it wasn't her idea to let all those people in. Okay, well, she still was part of the administration when they made these kinds of deals. So, a focus group, again, was asked about Kamala Harris's accomplishments. And the thing that everybody knows is essentially she was the border czar, and that 70% of this focus group that they did can't even name a single accomplishment. 70% of a focus group can't name an accomplishment. And I'll be honest with you, I can't name an accomplishment either, because I don't consider the border being wide open as an accomplishment. That is not an accomplishment at all. And I can't even think of a single accomplishment that she has done. And I pay attention to this stuff. But I can tell you that there's a lot of people out there who are not falling in line with the Democrats in this complete idea that, she's this great, wonderful, superior candidate for it. And that actually has even extended. Now, NBC had a group of 4 black men in this one focus group. And this is also out of town hall. And they gave answers that probably weren't the ones that MSNBC was actually expecting. So here, I just want to show you. Let me go ahead and play the video, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about.
How many of you know a black man who has expressed to you that they're committed to voting for Donald Trump?
Okay, now all 4 of them raised their hand.
For the brothers who have told you that or said that to you, has the emergence of Kamala Harris changed that for those brothers? No.
They're all 4 shaking their heads. So, in other words, what they asked this small group of black men, whether or not Kamala Harris or any of the people that were voting for Donald Trump changed their minds because Kamala Harris jumped in the race. Well, they didn't. So, none of them said yes. And again, keep in mind, this is what is considered to be the cancel culture and the cancer of identity politics, which is exactly what the only thing the Democrats have to run on is identity politics. In fact, it's even so bad that Kamala has put together several groups, which nobody really notices. I mean, the left is so naive and moronic and completely unaware of their own selves that they put together focus groups. They had white women for Harris. They have white dudes for Harris meeting right now, actually, on a Zoom call. They had, black women for Kamala or whatever. And they automatically, just by doing that, they demonstrate to you exactly what is important to them, which is to say immutable characteristics that nobody has any control over and brings literally nothing to the table when it comes to any kind of either intelligence, skills, abilities, whatever. This is the Democrat Party of today. This is their platform. It has nothing to do with whether or not somebody can actually do it, but do you fit or check some intersectionality box on some checklist? That's what they are doing. That's what they are after. Now, I played this other video that they have in that same article. But the thing about it is that the Harris campaign really has to start to focus in on things that she has accomplished, that there are things that she has done, or otherwise people are going to start thinking and go back to the whole idea like they did in 2016 with Clinton. See, Clinton had this fantastic campaign where I say fantastic, but I don't mean that. Fantastic campaign where she goes and she basically said, hey, you know what? It's time for a woman president. I'm your woman. Yeah, that didn't materialize. Even though all the polls were saying, now keep that in mind too, all the polls were saying that she was going to win. So, yeah, she has literally no record, no achievements, and for now, she can't even talk about or she can't even necessarily connect up with people because she is literally unlikable. She is unlikable. And just wait until she gets into a debate with Donald Trump and tries to talk for 2.5 minutes and tell you literally nothing in her circular fashion. Just wait for all that to come out. Too, they're saying that she is really focusing on a white male for her VP. She is highly focused, apparently, on potentially Josh Shapiro, and also Mark Kelly is another one that she is focused on out of Arizona. There's a story that came out. I don't have it in the show notes, but there's a story that came out that apparently Mark Kelly, this really doesn't look good for him if it's true, but Mark Kelly apparently formulated a spy balloon company. Now, that in and of itself wouldn't necessarily be the icing on the cake, but it would be that he funded it with the Chinese. Oh, and assuming that story is true, man, let me just tell you, that's it. 3 Chevy, that guy from Pennsylvania is Josh Shapiro, by the way. That's who she's looking at. And I've been hitting him or seeing his account on X talk about all the wonderful things that Kamala is doing. So, yeah. apparently, yeah, Mark Kelly created a spy balloon company and funded it with the Chinese. Now, whether or not that was actually the spy balloon that came and flew over the U.S., I have no idea. I just think it's funny that it's it's just one of those things that, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. You could just think of all the memes. If I was creative, that would be a meme right there. That would definitely be a meme, right there for that. Oh, just to have it. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this episode here. Okay, so Biden has thrown out a bunch of stuff. And the stuff that he's thrown out has to be, the biggest part obviously has to be his proposals to reform the Supreme Court. Now, the funny thing that he's done here, or I won't say it's funny as in ironic, funny as in sad, not funny as in ha-ha, is the fact that he is proposing term limits on the Supreme Court, as well as proposing a constitutional amendment that would overturn SCOTUS's decision on immunity. He also outlined that he wants an ethics law to apply to the Supreme Court. Now, first of all, the term limits thing, that cannot happen without a constitutional amendment. I'm not saying that it can't happen at all, because let's be honest, you get 2/3 of Congress and 3/4 of the states, you very well could get a constitutional amendment that would put in term limits for the court. However, he calls for Congress to back these proposals and to make a change to the U.S. Constitution. Now, we're not going to, I mean, seriously, it's not going to pass. Come on. As long as the Republicans hold at least one house, it's not going to pass. And right now we hold 50% of both houses, so it's just not going to pass. It just isn't. All this is just essentially a lot of smoke and mirrors and pushing all kinds of stuff. Well, immediately the sycophantic left jumped on it, and by the sycophantic left, I mean just about every representative and senator on the left side started talking about how there has to be these reforms for SCOTUS. And then I go on and I point out the whole idea being ludicrous, and the fact that it would be unconstitutional if Congress attempted to do it, just simply because of the fact that there is that concept called separation of powers, meaning that SCOTUS can't tell the legislative branch or the executive branch how to do their jobs. All SCOTUS can do is say whether or not something is constitutional or not. That's the concept of judicial review. And it was expounded upon in Federalist Papers number 78 with regards to everything. Now, outside of that, as I pointed out as well, that the immunity piece is something that has been in a understanding and was only framed by SCOTUS by this recent decision. It's not that they added anything to the Constitution or changed anything as far as the general understanding. I mean, outside of the fact that these morons on the left who don't understand the Constitution and can't even barely read it, much less alone actually comprehend it. And I would point that out to them too. But it is completely unconstitutional for Congress or the executive branch to attempt to even do anything with the SCOTUS without a constitutional amendment. And I immediately had people who were like, "Hey, yeah, you know, again, these morons on the left go, hey, what about that immunity thing? You know, Biden has immunity. He can make it happen." No, Biden doesn't. Biden has immunity only for the things that he is constitutionally able to do. That's it. Which is the complete understanding throughout the course of history that that was the case. Why we even needed to have this case brought up to the Supreme Court is beyond me. But hey, there it is. That's the rules, and that's the way it was brought out. So you essentially have, and here's another thing too, by the way, somebody else pointed this out. Think about this. Let's just assume that Congress actually does pass a law that basically puts an ethics bill onto SCOTUS, okay? And somebody sues that ethics law, brings it to SCOTUS. What do you think SCOTUS is going to do? Do you think they're going to allow that constitutionally to go by? Even if, I mean, let's just even assume that it might be questionably constitutional. It's not, but let's just assume that's the case. Do you honestly think SCOTUS is going to let that go by? Just like Congress putting in some sort of a term limit amendment or term limit bill for them? No, it's not going to happen. It wouldn't even matter whether a SCOTUS was on the left or on the right or constitutional or not. Why would they saddle themselves with an ethics law from the other branch when they themselves are supposed to be completely apolitical? That's their whole purpose, is to be apolitical. And the funny thing about it is, no matter how much they rip on Clarence Thomas about his supposed ethics violations, Every single one of SCOTUS can be classified that way. I showed you that about a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months ago in another episode, where I showed you that website that was tracking all of these supposed ethics violations of every single SCOTUS member, including the little darling of Jackson. Okay? There is no way that this is ever going to pass. I mean, realistically, even if it does pass, there's no way it's going to stay as a constitutional situation. And it's not as though Biden can necessarily do anything because, again, that's creating law, which is the legislative branch's setup. So, yeah, it's just... This whole damn thing is just so funny. All it is just beating the drum to try and make the sycophantic morons on the left believe that something can be done about it. And what's even more impressive is the fact that the op-ed that was published just this morning from him in, let's see, where was it put out? Well, I don't know. It doesn't say. It just says it's in an op-ed this morning. But anyway, he said, quote, "This nation was founded on a simple yet profound principle. No one is above the law, not the President of the United States, not a justice on the Supreme Court of the United States, no one." Well, I'm still waiting for you to get arrested for your FARA violations there, Joe, and for stealing, literally stealing classified documents where Robert Hur basically said, "Nah, he's too old, can't remember. I'm not going to try him." Yeah. In fact, I even responded to the POTUS account on X and basically said, why didn't you ask for congressional term limits? Why didn't you ask for an ethics law to cover both Congress and the executive? Why didn't you ask for either one of those? Or even better yet, just say, hey, look, this is a real problem in the entire government. So I call on the Congress to make laws that are ethics binding for everybody. SCOTUS, the president, and Congress themselves. Well, you know, that wouldn't go over very well. That wouldn't go over at all. Well, yeah. And he wanted a code of ethics, by the way, to be enforceable by the legislative branch. Hey, Biden, you already have that code of ethics enforceability. It's already there. It's called the power of impeachment, you moron. Impeachment is there. That's the purpose of impeachment. Now, Joe also proposed an amendment to limit the extent of presidential immunity afforded by the Constitution, proposing that former presidents be granted no immunity for crimes committed in office. Okay, I'd like for him to basically explain to us how he is going to set up a law that essentially has no immunity for something like what Obama did, where he bombed that American citizen or hit him with the drone strike, or the thing that Clinton did, Clinton meaning Hillary Clinton, where she and Obama, speaking of which, where they slept through the whole Benghazi thing. Yeah. I don't think so. He also was citing his 36 years as a U.S. Senator, former chairman, ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, and he said that he has great respect for our institution and separation of powers. No, you don't. No, you don't, Mr. Biden. And yes, I did call you Mr. Biden. I don't even know if I should really give you the respect of that tag. But no, you don't, Joe. And the reason being is because you yourself flaunted the whole thing about the student loan, saying that the SCOTUS stopped you, but you are finding ways around it. It just is. All he does is just keeps digging and digging and digging. And no, it doesn't undermine the public's confidence in the court's decisions. The court's decisions were not supposed to have public confidence. That was the whole point in making the SCOTUS and the court system non-political. That's why they have lifetime appointments, is they are not supposed to be beholden to any particular president or any particular political party. In the Constitution and in the Federalist Papers, they clearly state that the whole purpose of the idea of judicial review is to have it outside of and separate from the political nature that it was going to be in the other two branches. That's the whole point. So he's basically trying to tear that piece down. Yeah. Again, all of this would have to be literally a constitutional amendment, because there's no way that they can just make a law in Congress regarding presidential immunity. They already have the power of impeachment. That's the whole point. And then once he's impeached and removed from office, they can refer to the Department of Justice criminal charges if necessary. Now, whether or not the Department of Justice actually picks them up, that's something totally different. But it's already there, folks. It's already there. The point is, if you remove them from office for the specificity of the high crimes and misdemeanors, treason, bribery, etc., you remove them all for that, that's it. You've done your job. And by the way, removing a person from office through the impeachment process is not a criminal act. Anyway. Guys are freaking ridiculous. I just can't believe how stupid these people actually are. Anyway, they're scared. I mean, seriously, that is what it is. They are scared that Donald Trump is going to get back in the office. And keep in mind, too, Sotomayor, I think, is the next oldest, potentially. I would have to have that checked, but I know I saw and heard somewhere that people were worried about Sotomayor having a problem in office, and that Trump could potentially get a pick for her. That, and swing the court completely into conservatives' favor. Although not like, Amy Coney Barrett or Kavanaugh have really been stellar, appointments. They haven't been a Thomas. They haven't been an Alito. And that's the kind of person that we need on this court. Again, to continue along that line. But anyway. All right. So one other thing came up this in the last couple of days. One other thing came up, and this I find completely fascinating. Has to deal with January 6th. So the January 6th narrative from the left has always been that, oh no, Pelosi had nothing to do with it, that she had no control. She had no power and control. And as I've pointed out on multiple occasions, yes, actually she did. She is the one that had constitutional power over the 10 square mile area known as the district. Well, you remember that video that came out not too long ago where she was in the speeding away SUV and she basically said, this is my fault that I didn't prepare for this. We had an obligation. We had a responsibility, and I didn't prepare for it. Well, now there's some more memos that have been unearthed. This in just the news. Pelosi's top security aides got warning about Capitol breach the night before the January 6th riot, memos show. Now, it's not so much that there was going to be, they warned about a potential Capitol breach. And most of this article realistically kind of rehashes what we already knew for the most part. But apparently 2 top House security aides under then Speaker Nancy Pelosi got stark warnings from police the night before January 6th riots that protesters might try to breach the U.S. Capitol through its tunnel systems and block lawmakers from voting to certify Joe Biden's presidential election win. Now, this is according to newly obtained memos and text messages. These documents were obtained by Just the News. They also confirm that Pelosi's team played a role in the botched security planning for that fateful day. Now, remember, she keeps claiming that she had nothing to do with it, that she was not in control, that the Capitol Police were the ones that were in complete control over all of this. Well, it turns out that that isn't really true. So, Capitol Police Deputy Chief Sean Gallagher wrote to Deputy House Sergeant at Arms Tim Bludgett at 8:55 p.m. on January 5th, 2021, in an email that got forwarded overnight to then Sergeant at Arms Paul Irving. We have identified numerous open source comments, including groups' intentions of finding the tunnel entrances and confronting/blocking the members of Congress. Then there was a second warning sent later about possible threats against Supreme Court justices. And the Sergeant at Arms office scheduled a briefing for Pelosi's then Chief of Staff, Terry McCullough, the next morning. And this, of course, occurred hours before the breach occurred, according to messages that were obtained by House Administration Oversight Subcommittee Chairman Barry Loudermilk. Now, here's the thing. Pelosi said in her videotape, "We have a responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more." Okay? That's the video that was in the SUV as it was speeding away from the Capitol with Pelosi in it. Okay? But Loudermilk said this about that tape. "I think it was clear at that moment she understood. They messed up. She or her staff are the ones who denied the request by Chief Sund for the National Guard." And this was while he was on Just the News No Noise television show. Loudermilk added after that, "There's a lot of information that people on Pelosi's staff, I think, need to answer some questions. So we're wrapping up some other areas while we're still going down this path." Now, the U.S. Capitol Police did not respond to a request for comment from Just the News, and former Sergeant at Arms Irving could not be reached for comment. Now, here's the thing. The Sergeant at Arms has been stated multiple times, okay, that they take orders from the Speaker of the House. Now, the way this works is the Capitol building is broken up into the 2 chambers. Each chamber has their own, quote, Sergeant at Arms. Okay? So the House Sergeant at Arms could have worked with the Senate Sergeant at Arms, and the 2 of them worked together in order to come up with some sort of a strategy for protecting and repelling any such attacks on the Capitol grounds. But they gave it up. They were denied, of course, they were denied by Pelosi when the chief asked for the National Guard. Which, as you know, I've also shown and told you that Muriel Bowser, who was the mayor, also said the exact same thing. We don't need them. Yeah. So one of the things, though, one of the quotes further down that actually kind of surprised me a little bit was that numerous independent fact checkers, this is a spokesperson for Nancy Pelosi, told just the news. Numerous independent fact-checkers have confirmed again and again that Pelosi did not plan her own assassination on January 6th. The Speaker of the House is not in charge of the security of the Capitol complex on January 6th or any other day of the week. Well, that's not true, because the new emails, text messages, and documents, Pelosi's office was in fact involved in the Capitol security planning, receiving requests for edits and feedback, and being kept informed of the security situation by the Sergeant at Arms Irving. And that same pattern continued all the way up until the day of the Capitol riot. And a series of text messages also show that Pelosi's chief of staff, McCullough, was in contact with Irvin for updates in the days leading up to and on the morning of January 6th. Now, keep in mind, under the Congressional Research, according to the Congressional Research Service, the Sergeant at Arms operates, quote, under the direction of the Speaker to maintain order and decorum in the House. He is also responsible for Capitol security and the safety of members alongside his Senate counterpart. There is absolutely zero way that Pelosi can escape not having responsibility for January 6th riots and being unprepared. There is zero way that she can escape this. If we had an appropriate Republican Party who would go after her for this. There's no way. So McCullough, which was, again, Pelosi's chief of staff, said, Paul, when is a good time to talk about this afternoon and the floor tomorrow? Irving replied, I need a few minutes. How about 6:15 p.m. this evening or, of course, anytime tomorrow morning? They were completely folks, they were completely in contact with each other with the entire intent of planning for and failing to plan for any kind of violence that might have happened that day that they were aware of ahead of time without even, getting the National Guard brought on site. It's sliding every little, I'm telling you, it's a drip, drip, drip. It's a slow faucet that is showing us. Eventually we'll get the truth, but it's a very slow process and a slow faucet that is dripping out. Anyway. All right, folks, that pretty much ends it for me. Now, some of you have been asking if I was drinking a beer. No, actually, I'm not. I am drinking a ginger beer. This is called Cock and Bull. I'm drinking a ginger beer, and believe me, it has a very ginger bite. So it's non-alcoholic. Anyway, it's kind of more like a root beer type deal. But anyway, all right. So that is it for this evening. Do me a favor, if you would please, and you haven't already done it, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account, and then, of course, follow the American Perspective channel. It's hitting a little green follow button. It's really not that hard. And if you would, before you leave, if you are signed in over there, please hit that thumbs up button. It should be right about here in the video. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure to help this show get onto the editor's picks and maybe the leader board. That would be fantastic for that to happen. All right, we will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here back on American Perspective. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday, what there is left of it. And I will see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.